Today we have learned that Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger for the LSU Tigers, have been dismissed from the LSU Tigers football team. I'm Dan Harrelson, and let's talk about this with Randy Rosetta from NOLA.com. Randy, how are you doing today?
Hey man, what's going on?
Well, let's talk about this situation. Of course, we saw you all day on College Football Live on ESPNU. So how did it get to this point? What exactly happened?
Well, from the sources I've spoken to, it's a failed drug test, and it seems like it's at least his third failed drug test. If you kind of put the pieces together and look at LSU's drug policy, it's very spelled out that for a third drug offense or violation, failing the drug test, the player is subject to a year's suspension from all team activities. So it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that they wouldn't do that after the first one. The first one was most likely last season when he was suspended against Auburn. So it sounds like that Tyrann was just a guy who enjoyed being a college student a little bit too much when football players and college athletes are held to a little bit different standard.
Well, you said exactly right, a college student. I mean, we've all been in that situation at that age, so you can't really put judgment on the guy for doing that. But how many times do you think this occurred? Do you think it's once or maybe twice?
I think we're looking at more than that, probably. Like I said, I think this is probably his at least third failed drug test, which, you start to wonder about the young man, whether or not he's being selfish. Now, I'll say this, I've gotten to know Tyrann a little bit, and he's a very good kid. That's something Wes Miles pointed out, that he's a good kid who just had a behavior malfunction. But you wonder, what went through his mind, because this is kind of a selfish decision. When you fail a drug test once, okay, it happened. If you fail it twice, okay, let's get this fixed. But you do it a third time, you're kind of flaunting yourself a little bit in the face of authority, and you've left your teammates in the lurch here now. You've left your coaches, you've left your family to a certain degree. So it's just been a series of bad decisions by Tyrann.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Randy. We all know he's a very important person for the game of college football. Just on the field, he trash talked a little bit, but some players will do that. And somebody and I, off the record, were talking about this today. Actually, he's kind of like a Deion Sanders. He backed up his trash talk. He was just a great athlete on the field. Of course, I don't think Deion had issues with the drug issues, but how much do you think LSU will miss him?
I think early on they'll miss him a lot. The thing is, I'm not sure I'm ready to toss any dirt on LSU's season or the secondary, because they're awfully talented back there. Is he a key player? Well, sure. When you look at a guy who won all the awards he won, he was SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He went to the Heisman. He's a huge piece of their defense, but he's not without some flaws. He's not the greatest cover corner. Alabama exposed that a little bit.
they lost a lot of guys, or do you think it's still about balanced out, even playing field on the defensive side of the football for Alabama and LSU?
I think I probably would have said that before, but I think LSU and Alabama right now, and then USC's knocking at the door. USC's not going to have the same depth that LSU and Alabama have, but right now, the cycles that those two teams are in, they are head and shoulders talent-wise better than anybody else. Tyrann Mathieu, it's a blow to lose him, but I think if you took any of Alabama's key guys away, I would say the same thing. You don't have to look far. You go to number 2 or number 3 on the depth chart of most positions at LSU and Alabama, and those guys are as good or better as the number ones at a lot of places in the country. So it's not like LSU or Alabama either one needs any kind of edge against each other. They're one game or 2 games, if it happens again against each other this year, is going to be the same kind of knockdown drag out as they were last year and have been the last several.
Well, let's talk about September 1st, opening weekend. Of course, LSU hosts North Texas. They're 4-0 all-time against North Texas and 36-0 against the Sun Belt all-time. You and I both know that should be an easy win, but looking ahead to September 8th against Washington and the pass-happy offense, any issues there this may carry over, or do you think the team's having a lingering effect over this?
Well, I think it helps to have these 3 weeks going in, and then kind of the first game is a buffer, like you said. That's a game LSU should win. I think that will help these young guys in the secondary a little bit more prepared. They're going to have plenty of time to practice. They're going to see some live game, and I think something that shouldn't be understated is as good as that secondary is and promises to be at some point, LSU's still got an awfully nasty defensive line in front of them. So for a quarterback to have a lot of success against the secondary, he's got to have time to sit back there and throw. And I'm not sure with Sam Montgomery and Kiki Mingo on the ends that he's going to have a ton of time to throw the ball for Washington. So it's it kind of balances it out a little bit. So LSU has kind of proven through the years that they're good at overcoming unexpected hurdles thrown in front of them. When you look at Hurricane Katrina and Gustav and what happened last year with Jordan Jefferson and Russell Shepard, so this is just kind of the next chapter in that.
Well, let's talk about the quarterback play. Mettenberger and, of course, the Penn State transfer, Bolden, coming in. What's going on with Bolden? Do you think it would be like a Jefferson-Lee situation where they kind of get even playing time, or how's that going to play out throughout fall camp and into the first few weeks of the season?
I think what Rob Bolden does is gives LSU basically an insurance policy. If Mettenberger were to get hurt at all this season, I don't think he's a guy that's he's not going to compete for the starting job. There's no controversy this year to stack Mettenberger's offense. And B, I don't think that Les Miles and the offensive coaches are that interested in having a running quarterback because they've got so much talent at running back, including a couple of guys who are former quarterbacks at the high school level that they could line up Spencer Ware or Terrence McGee or even Russell Shepard as a wildcat and kind of add an element to the running game that way. So I don't think Rob Bolden is here for that. I think he's here in case Zach Mettenberger misses 3 or 4 weeks when he tweaks a knee or bangs his thumb on a helmet or something, because they've got 2 redshirt freshmen who've never taken a snap at the college level as the backups besides Bolden. So you replace them with a guy who started 16 games, including several in the Big Ten, and I think that makes a lot more cruise. I think, especially now with these new circumstances, I think LSU will be untested to a degree by the time South Carolina gets here. I think they will have had some pretty serious tests under their belt. I think they come in here and eke one out, and I think that's kind of a turning point for LSU season. I think losing that game kind of refocuses them and gets them headed in the right direction.
Well, do you think South Carolina can repeat like last year and go undefeated basically against the SEC East?
Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. Now that you add Missouri, and Missouri's gotten a little bit less attention than A&M has, Texas A&M has coming into the SEC, but I think it's still a very manageable division. I like Steve Spurrier's comments in the offseason about, and he and Les Miles agreed. I think he and Les Miles have wound up having a lot more in common than I think people ever thought they would about having only the division games count, because obviously Carolina's in the championship game last year, if that's the case. So I think they will. They're talented enough on offense and better on defense this year. I think they will be I think they will cruise to the East. I don't want to say cruise. They will go undefeated in the East.
Yeah, it's a very interesting 2012 college football season because there's probably about 8 to 9 teams deep throughout college football that can at least play for it in Miami in January. So I don't know. I guess on chalk, I'm going with Bama and USC. So who do you think may play for it all in Miami?
Well, in that same prediction column, I put LSU and USC. So we agree on the USC part. That one game on November 3rd obviously is going to be the key game, because I think whoever comes out of the West will beat the East champion again. I think the West is just too strong at this point. And it's almost a shame that, for a lot of reasons, but for kind of the intrigue and how fun it would have been to watch in Arkansas, and coming to this season with Bobby Petrino, that could have been a real dogfight if you have the talent they had coming back and that offensive mastermind there. I think they lost an awful lot when they lost Petrino, though.
What is intriguing also on November 3rd is USC and Oregon in Los Angeles, so it's pretty much like that 2014 playoff maybe a couple years early. So it should be interesting. Are you one of those that believes I guess obviously USC would have to be Oregon twice in your mind to make it to Miami, but do you think the Trojans will have any trouble maybe beating Oregon twice?
That could end up being similar to what I'm saying could happen in the SEC. It could be where Oregon gets them in the regular season, and then USC wins the game. I guess in the Pac-12 they'll be playing. If I remember right, they play at whoever the division champion is, or the highest with the best record. So that would be at the Coliseum, if I'm thinking right. So I could see something very similar happening in the Pac-12, where the two teams split, but USC wins the game that matters a little bit more.
Right. Well, Randy, I know it's been a busy day for you, and I'm sorry that LSU had to go through all this stuff today, but Les Miles stepped up to the plate, and he's still going to deliver a great team and a great defense behind himself and John Chavis. So looking forward to that North Texas game, and especially September 8th against Washington, defense against offense.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, and then, of course, when the Gamecocks come here in mid-October, I think